Good morning and aloha. Welcome to Just Talking 24, page 43. This morning's talk was instigated or originated by a YouTube short that I saw. And what happened in this short was it was a foreign news correspondent asking President Trump about Venezuela's president coming to visit the U.S. for the second time. And evidently, this time, he agreed to all the terms that were set forth by President Trump. And President Trump told him, and this isn't verbatim, okay, this is just the general gist of it. But President Trump told him, yeah, he agreed to everything. And the correspondent said, well, why did he do that, Mr. President? And he said, well, he just learned a very important lesson. And he says, when it comes to the U.S., and pardon the language, but he said, don't fuck with us. And it struck me as very, see, I know he knows how to swear, come on. But for a president to say that, you never heard presidents use those words. And but then you gotta remember now, Trump is not a politician. He's a businessman. And sometimes in business, you gotta hit him between, like I keep saying, you gotta hit somebody between the eyes sometimes to get his attention. And so I said, why would he say something like that? What happened in Venezuela? Did you know that we attacked Venezuela and Mexico about 2 weeks ago, right around October 18th? The United States conducted a surgical military operation on two sites, one in Venezuela and one in Mexico. We went in there with our military and we surgically destroyed the cartel's drug producing, supplying, and distribution and communication centers in both countries. Now, it wasn't simultaneously. It was one then the other. And I'm not sure. I mean, I get my dates mixed up, but I'm pretty sure it was Venezuela first and then Mexico second. And we wiped them out. We wiped out the personnel, wiped out the facilities, but both times we landed our troops on their soil to do it, to help it out, to mop it up. And most people can say this is an act of war. And it's not really because it wasn't against the country. We had told the countries, okay, we don't care. Really, we don't care if they make all the drugs they want and give them to their population. Keep them just as stupid as ever. Keep them even more doped up. Then you can control them. Just leave it in your country. Once you come and bring it into our country, that is an act of war. Since the 1970s, we've had the war on drugs. Well, President Trump is actually making it the war on drugs, and he's showing it's a war. And he's telling these presidents, enough already. We're not being bullies. We're not. We've told them over and over and over. And that's what diplomats do. They're like a dog that wants to play, but he's barking really, really aggressively. But his tail's wagging away. That's what they do. They just bark, but nobody bites. Well, guess what? President Trump, he not only barked, he bit. And that's how it bit. And the rest of the world, of course, they gotta condemn it, right? But Europe is secretly cheering us because this stops. Well, it doesn't stop, but it curtails their ability to make drugs and sell them to other countries. See, these countries, that's all. Venezuela had their oil. They had their oil. I mean, they were on the tops, the top of the world. And what happened? The bottom fell out on oil prices. Their economy went back, went bust. And they were so corrupt that they were spending money so fast and so much and so, you know, everybody was getting paid off and everything that they, they couldn't recover from it. They didn't recover from it. And so they needed another cash cow. Well, what cash cow does Venezuela have? Exactly, drugs. The cartel took over. The cartel said, hey, you know what? Let us do whatever we want to do, and you go make money. And they made money. Mexico, it's the same thing. They use money and they use power. And the president, a female, but it doesn't matter if you're male or female. It's just the leadership is so weak that they need the money. Really, Mexico needs the money because their economy. What do they have besides Well, now they've got some American factories, but with the tariffs, that wiped them out. If it was so good in those countries, why do people want to come to America? That's what we're trying to keep out, right? The illegal immigrants. By millions, not a couple of hundred here or 10 there or whatever. Millions of people. What does that tell you? Don't listen to what the politicians say. Look at what the people do. So the rest of the world, they have to condemn it, But they're actually cheering the Americans. Finally, there's a power in the world that is not. I mean, we could have been mean and gone inside of there and really done, an aggression thing and taken over the country, but we don't want it. We're trying to keep them out. We're trying to keep. We don't want it, but we want it clean, and that's all President Trump said. And just by that one word, it turned me on to this. We had ships and drones coming in to Texas to wipe out a refinery, and it was like I believe it was 3 ships and 4 drones they sent, the cartel. And the cartels, this is Venezuelan and Colombian. Yeah. And they don't have that type of technology. So where did the technology come from? Well, from the boats and the and the drones and whatever, rubbish they could pick up, according to what I read. It was Chinese made software and Russian made drones. Yep. And we took them out. Now, what does that tell you, folks? You know, there's one thing to say, yeah, we're going inside and we're surgically removing it, and yeah, it's us, the United States. And it's another thing to say, we're going to back them up with our stuff, and then they'll use our stuff, but it's not really us. You know what I mean? One is crystal clear out on the surface, and the other one is underneath, behind the back stab. Which is what? Right? By what they did. Which is what? You got 3 superpowers, as they say, Russia, China, and America. Which one was on the surface, and which one was stabbing behind the back? Exactly, folks. And it just shows that sometimes you gotta whack them between the eyes. And now Venezuela and Mexico, they backed off. I don't know if they're gonna really go after the cartel. Maybe they're gonna ask the USA, can you come in and take out the cartel? But I doubt it, because they need the money. They can't figure out what they can do, because, well, for one thing, their population doesn't have the technological sense. They may have the infrastructure. Well, they may have the space to do it with to build up an industry. But you gotta have ideas. You gotta have companies come in, like Brazil. Brazil brought Ford Motor Company in there, and I've told you this before. There's a facility in Brazil that Ford uses to make their F-150 trucks. They used to make their Escorts. They make some of their vehicles there. But this facility is so extensive and it's so complete. It makes every part of the vehicle in Brazil. The vehicle is 100% made in Brazil. Now the natural resources, the raw materials may come from other places because Brazil doesn't have everything, but they can make body parts, they can make the wiring, they can make the tires, they make the motors, they make everything in Brazil, 100% made. And Ford Motor Company, what they did was they pulled out of Michigan because it's way cheaper to do it in Brazil. The government backs you up. They have, the government's blessing, and the government just tells the cartel, leave these people alone. See, they work with each other. It's not that the U.S. is any different. If you read the history books, you will know that during World War II, American government had to make a deal with the mob because the mob ran the docks on the East Coast, and if we wanted our ships, the freighters and stuff loaded, they had to make a deal with the mob so that they could load the ships to go to England, to go to Europe, England. So the U.S. is not Lily White gang. We're not Lily White. That's the game. That's the game. It's just that in these other states, the cartel is more important, or the cartel is way stronger. This last operation that the U.S. did cost the cartel, they estimate, over $2 billion. Imagine, you can afford to lose $2 billion. And drugs still getting to the U.S., folks. Still got drugs on them. Look at these dummies on the street. Yep, the drugs still getting here, although it was curtailed a lot. And all that's going to do is just drive the price up. What we got to do is, I hate to say this. Actually, I don't hate to say this. Well, I do. Because that's the only way they're going to learn is incarceration. And I'm talking about total, really hardcore incarceration. Keep them, dry up these drug addicts. They cannot get anything. And if you're an officer and you bring in drugs, you will get automatic 20 years, automatic in that facility. Really think about it before you're going to bring that money in. I mean, they can get everything, but you have to clean. You really gotta clean up. You gotta use Clorox. You gotta clean it up. So we have to build, like I said, take that 1.5 trillion that the Democrats are asking for in this freaking spending bill, and build prisons, and man them with. I mean, I'm sure they can find, officers if you pay them enough. You can find officers that will be, pretty clean. Not perfectly white, but more white than anything else. But yeah, if you break any rules like that, especially with contraband, you will get automatic 20 years. And another thing I want to talk about is another, little video that I saw. And that was a person, and he was a student, and he was saying that ICE agents were denying the people due process. These illegal immigrants, they were denying them due process. And the fact that they're identifying themselves and the fact that they have warrants is process. You see, not everybody, a lot of people, they misunderstand due process. They think due process is, arrest, processing, court hearing, No, due process, I have to identify myself. Okay? I have a warrant for your arrest. I arrest you. We go to a processing center to confirm that's you. That's your due process. That is due process in America. Anytime you have a procedure to follow, you follow it. That is due process. Now, if something's wrong with the procedure, you can go against the procedure for due process. But the execution of that procedure is your due process. They don't understand. It's really simple. It's not rocket science. Just that people want to make it complex. Why? Because then that gives them an out. Why is the law so complex now? Why is it so technical? Because it gives you an out. If you go back to the basic Constitution, it was really simple. But see, that's how we were taught back then. That's how our forefathers. I mean, I'm not that old, but I am old. But that's how our forefathers. That's their thinking. Like you cannot have anything, any a reference to God anywhere in in public buildings. The the idea of not having God was not even in their wildest thoughts. So it wasn't included. And because it wasn't in wildest thoughts, it's not touched by the Constitution, except to say that everybody has the right to worship the way they want to worship, which was bad. Because in those days, they didn't know that there were guys going around, beheading chickens and spraying themselves with chicken blood, or going around getting, playing with snakes. No, they didn't have that. Those those were not religious people. Those were satanists. Yeah, it's way different. And so that's why it has to be revised. But President Trump, one at a time, one at a time. Another thing bothering me is these people claiming that President Trump is should be arrested for destroying the East Wing of the White House. Well, how else are you gonna renovate? Renovate, you rarely take something off and just put it on, and no door, no nothing, just have two walls 3 inches apart, and say, I did my renovation. No, you make it part of that building. And the only way you can make it part of a building is you got to take part of the building out and then redo it. And I applaud them. It's about time that I never knew that. I never knew that we didn't have an official, like a ballroom. Wouldn't you think, with all the entertaining you do of foreign dignitaries and and the guests and everything, that you'd have a ballroom? It's like my wife's school. For years they never had a gymnasium. These girls, I mean, it was parochial school, but they never had PE. Because prayer was more important than phys ed. I mean, okay, fine, but no, you gotta have some place. And if you're going to entertain, shouldn't you have an area of entertainment? And I thought we had one. I'm sorry, I really did. I mean, like they said, Obama can put on basketball court. You know, who was it? Was it Nixon or Reagan had a bowling alley put in? Yeah, I mean, if they can do that, why didn't they do a ballroom? And the kicker is that Trump is doing it with private funds. It's not costing the taxpayers one penny. Everybody's saying, well, Trump doesn't have that kind of money. Well, it's not Trump's money. Trump has an amazing way of getting people's money. That's how he made his millions. He took people's money and he developed property. Not with his money, with others' money. He's an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur is you use other people's, you build things. And he took other people's money, investors' money, and he invested it in property, built the thing, and he paid them all off. And everybody walked away happy. And his wealth, because he get his percentage, right? So his wealth grows and grows, and that's how he made his money. He didn't make it by, work, actually physically working hard. He manipulated. He knows how to. He's a businessman. That's what some businessmen do. That's their business. Like a stock trader, a day stock trader. What does he do really? He takes from column A to column B. He buys, he sells. He uses other people's money. Actually, because other people are investing in the stocks, and it's the price of the stocks that are going up and down. So he's actually using other people's money. But he's a stockbroker, and he's a very very successful one. I've met some. I mean, we're sitting down drinking in a bar, and they go, "Hey, let's go golf." We go, okay, what? Oh, meet me at the airport at 6 in the morning. What? He goes, yeah. In fact, meet me at the airport at 5:30. Now this is almost 2 o'clock now. The bar is closed up at 2 o'clock. I said, okay, so you go home and you take a shower, change, grab your clubs. You don't need clothes because it's a 1 day trip. And you take the clubs, you go down to the airport, and you sleep. When they come down, you wake up. You guys jump on a plane. We fly over to Kauai. We're greeted there by the van of the golf club that we're going to play at. And they take us over. We have breakfast. We play around the golf. We have lunch. Come back to the airport. The clubs are all clean and everything. Unreal. And we fly back to Oahu. And that was, just a day jaunt. I mean, that's how these guys live. I said, okay. Thank you. It was fun. I don't think the course was that good, but the breakfast and lunch was really great. The food was good. But yeah, that's how they live. That's the lifestyle of the rich and famous. And all this guy does is he buys and sells, buys and sells, buys and sells. Well, Trump didn't buy and sell. Trump bought using other people's money, built, and then moved on to another project. Trump Towers, Atlantic City, whatever. That's what Trump does. Okay? And so he got the people's money, and it's they say in upwards of 300 million, and I'm pretty sure that he can get way more than that if he needed it. But he goes, oh, that's all I need, and then that's it. And these people, they get a tax break. It's a tax write-off because it's a charitable donation, because the government is supposed to be nonprofit, right? Yeah, it's a tax write-off. It's not a tax credit. Okay, you got to understand the difference. Tax write-off and tax credit is way different thing. But it's probably a tax write-off, and he's going to build this beautiful ballroom, and it's not going to cost the people anything. See, that's the thing. The people don't understand that this is a president of action. We're not used to it. We're afraid of it because we cannot keep up. Locally, the SNAP thing, people are going to lose their SNAP and their, the EBT. Yeah, EBT and SNAP, not the WIC. I don't think the WIC is affected. Just the EBT and the SNAP. And our state is saying, oh yeah, we have a contingency plan, but we only can help 1/3. Some contingency plan. But anyway, nobody is blaming the Republicans or Trump. Now, in the beginning, they did. That's really funny. In the beginning, and these are the news stations. They were blaming Trump. They can't anymore because people now, they're realizing that, yeah, it's not the Republicans or Trump. It's the Democrats. And Hawaii is all Democrat. We have 4 delegates to Congress. We have 2 representatives and our 2 senators. All Democrats, all voted the same way. These are the same people that didn't stand when President Trump was doing his address, and he was acknowledging these people that suffered, and they wouldn't stand. These are the same idiots, folks. I didn't vote for him. Okay, I did not vote for him. Even our governor, who usually says, "Oh, it has something to do about Trump. He's going to go to the White House and all this bullshit," even he isn't saying anything. Yep, it's fascinating. It is. It's very, very enjoyable in a way. It's neat when karma comes your way and these people don't know how to act and they don't know how to handle it. It's, yeah, And like I said, we're not bullies. We're not bullies. If we were bullies, like I said, we'd take over Mexico. We would invade the country and take them over, but we're not. All we're doing is taking out a blackhead. We're dermatologists. We're not bullies. We're dermatologists. We don't go around bullying. We tell you, stop it. You don't stop it, we stop it for you. We show you how. And we're not going against the government. We're going against the cartel. Yeah. It's not like a COVID, vaccine that, is going to do damage further down the line. Or we don't know what it does. It does damage right now. No. We're actually an antibiotic that goes after that one germ, and we're going after that germ. And the cartel, what can they do? They just don't have the technology. And they're trying. They have submersibles. But if they were to build a ship, a shipyard, I'm pretty sure we take that out too. So just give up. Just keep making the money and just selling it to your people. But even Europe, we didn't hear one word of this, folks. Not well, no. Well, there was a mention of us taking out some surface craft that America did take out. Actually, we've taken out, according to what I've seen, about 72 crafts. 72 crafts, both air and sea. Yeah, in this latest something. And as they find them, they take them out. Yeah, there's no due process in the international water. The Constitution doesn't reach there. So yeah, that's their due process. Keep trying to bring stuff in and we'll take you out, no problem. But yeah, I just had to get that off my chest. Don't know what this next week's gonna come. Every week is so new. I mean, I say I don't want to be political, but it's just so good. And you guys, please, like I said, subscribe. Okay, don't give me ideas. Give me questions. That's what I want. Write down in the comments questions that you want me to answer, and I'll try and answer them. Okay? You already know what the secret of my life, what secret of life is, that kind of stuff. But if you want me to go into it deeper, I can go into it deeper. What happens after death? I'll go into that. Is there a God? I'll go into that. Whatever. Okay? But, I don't want it, like I said, I don't want it to go into religion or politics, but look what's happening, right? All politics. But I had to say it. I mean, when our president, uses the F-bomb, and like I said, I've never heard a president talk like that. It's cool that he knows the words, You remember F you clown on Bozo the Clown? Almost to that extent. But anyway, thank you so much. Have a great week. Getting close to Halloween. Halloween, yeah, is this week Friday. Going to be Halloween. Trick or treat and be safe and don't party too hardy. Yeah, and it's a Friday night, I know, really. So you got you can party up because you got the whole week to recover. But anyway, you have a good one. And as always, ahui ho, malama pono, and always from my heart to yours, aloha. Have a good one. Bye-bye.